like everybody has a story and everybody has value. So it's just a matter of getting it out to the world.
Hi, Eric. It's awesome.
Hello.
It's absolutely awesome of you to spend some time to chat with me. I really appreciate it, man.
I appreciate being here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's long overdue, man. I've been following your story for quite a bit, so we've got quite a lot to cover. Um, you're a videographer, you're a photographer, you're a storyteller, public speaker, gamer, streamer, influencer, co-founder of one of the fastest growing companies in Milwaukee, Urban Misfit Ventures. Did I miss anything else?
I mean, it's as much as I know, I do.
I mean, you're doing quite a lot of things, but I think I want to start first with LinkedIn, as this is the first place where I met you, where I saw you, which was just over a year ago, I think. And at that time, you were doing videos every damn day. And I think that lasted for about, I don't know if I'm wrong, about 3 months, something like that.
90 days.
Yeah. Why the hell were you doing that, and how did that impact what you're doing today?
I think arguably I would say it created what I did today. So you had Q on, obviously, and Q had met with me and was like, LinkedIn video. And I'm like, I mean, I'm comfortable in front of a camera, but why video on LinkedIn? Like, it's a professionals network. I put resumes on there. I tell people I went to college here, that sort of thing. Like, I don't make videos on LinkedIn. It's like, no, now you do. I'm like, okay, well, all right. I grandfathered me in a little bit. So we made a video together. And then I had to actually the next day off of work for my job at the time. And it's like, yeah, okay, let's make another one. You know, I'm not doing anything, work on whatever, try this message. I got a lot of feedback on that first video, and a lot of people that I connected with that I kind of noticed there was like an immediate gap of like actual people that were using more than just their phones. And that wasn't like that's by no means a bash. It's just that's what people had available to them at the time and still do. So I was like, all right, let's make another one. You know, looks good, something different that people maybe aren't used to seeing on LinkedIn video. So I made one that day as well. And then the next day I had the day off as well. And I'm like, all right, well, I know I'm going to be working a lot next week. Let's just make like one video for every day. And at this point, I wasn't thinking of going daily. I was just like, well, I'm just going to keep making until the fire runs out, right?
Yeah.
And it just kept going and kept going and kept going. And then like maybe 2 weeks or so, and I'm like, all right, well, I might as well just say at this point I'm going daily because I am. So I did. I just kind of batch videos was kind of the secret to that success. But you know, with that, Q was like I've had a lot of people that I've said, you know, do LinkedIn video, and maybe the farthest somebody got was like 2 weeks of inconsistent, you know, not daily even. He's like, let's make a company. Here's this idea. Let's make a company out of it. And like, hey, all right, now we're talking. Let's do it.
And you were doing videos before, haven't you? I think you were doing YouTube videos as well and stuff like that. So was that quite an easy transition for you to go from YouTube from streaming to LinkedIn?
It was for me because, you know, it was I try and, you know, reduce fluff in everything that I create, and I've kind of done that better, I think, over the years. So for me to go to LinkedIn video, it's like, okay, well, now I'm really eliminating any BS, if you will, because now it's just 1 to 3 minutes of just here's what I have to say, enjoy it. So I learned a lot about, you know, just how do I keep my message clear and concise. So being in front of a camera was nothing that I was uncomfortable with. Trying something out of the box wasn't necessarily anything that I was uncomfortable with. It was just, okay, now I'm not creating a tutorial on how to create this piece in After Effects, or I'm not reviewing this camera lens. I'm talking to professionals that have a lot of money. So what is my message, and how do I kind of refine that?
So you're probably sort of one of the pioneers or ambassadors for video on LinkedIn, to be honest. And because of that, there's a lot of people that feel that they need to go out and do video on LinkedIn. I think there's two questions that I want to ask regarding that. First of all, for somebody that actually wants to get out there, wants to get in front of a camera, but has quite a lot of, whether it's insecurities or maybe has never been in front of a camera, is there any advice that you could give them sort of to go do those first steps?
Yeah, I think like really it comes down to just like you have to get over yourself. You know, I think we're all holding ourselves to like this image, and like that isn't a thing on video. You just have to here's my message. I know, like, everybody has a story and everybody has value. So it's just a matter of getting it out to the world. So often I suggest people just take their phone, go out for 10, 20, 30 minutes, whatever, and just record as many takes as you need. But when that timer stops, you're done. You find the one that you like the most and you just hit upload, turn your phone off, and walk away. Because you know that you just do it, and 9 times out of 10, in fact, arguably 100 times out of 100, two, you get positive feedback, right? And it's not, nobody's going to come on your first video and just hate everything that you're about. So it's just that, that fear of, it's a lot of people consider it like a different social situation, so it's not, I'm not going to a networking event, oh, I better, dress up or have a cocktail or whatever. I'm putting myself through video where what I say is solid. I can't go replace that video or change things about that video. So it's like this different social space that people have to get used to, I think.
But one thing that I did notice that, so I personally, I started with Snapchat, and the reason I started with Snapchat was I'll record something, I'll post it, and I'm 99% sure nobody will ever see it, right? Yeah. So there was a bit of that safety. It's on social, but it's not, right? LinkedIn is still a professional network, and as you said, like the message you put out is to professionals, right? Yeah. So when you do those first videos, I think this is where LinkedIn puts that extra layer of fear of, this is how the professional industry is going to see me, and what if I F up,
Yeah, that's definitely something. And, I think like that is definitely something as well, but you just have to realize that, like, okay, if I meet this person, what I'm putting out in these videos should represent who I am, so that when I do meet this person in real life, offline, it's the same. So many people either put on a persona or try and boost themselves up through video, and that's just not why you record video, in my opinion. You record video to get who you are out to the world, so that it's essentially an extension of an in-person conversation. So I can have this piece of information that maybe strikes up a conversation the next time we have coffee together, or maybe the next networking event, it's the topic of, a group chat or something, like there's so many different ways to go about it. But yeah, you have to be cognizant of just being you.
Yeah. And I think this is where, I guess, the next question comes in, because I think seeing the success of people like yourself and Q and Bremen, whatever it may be, of actually doing video, putting out content on social media, LinkedIn especially, it puts a lot of pressure on, say, small business owners, aspiring entrepreneurs, and even successful entrepreneurs to actually get out there and do stuff. Does it need to be video, and actually do they need to do that? Because, like, so I guess my question is, like, is it a necessity, or is it more of an extra, in your opinion? I know you're a bit biased because that's your business is based on that. But
I always have tried to say that it's just an extension. Like I kind of touched on a little bit ago. But I think just, you don't have to make video. You can post text. You can post articles. You can post blogs. You can post photos. Whatever. Like, it doesn't have to be a video. I think like a lot of people are just sick of, you can never tell the inflection of an email, right? But if I make a video, how I inflect on things, my excitement level toward things. You get to see all of that without having to maybe read through the lines of an email or have to take a coffee meeting. You get a lot of who people are through video. So, I mean, I'm naturally a video creator, but that's also why I stick with video, because then anybody on LinkedIn, since it is a professionals network, meets me in person and they're like, I saw your LinkedIn videos. I don't have to introduce myself then. They know who I am. They know what I'm about. They know what I like. They know just me as a person. So, then I say it's taking that initial discovery layer off of a lot of conversations. And then you can get people that approach you and say, hey, let's work together. Okay, well, sweet. Now we're sitting down for coffee to talk about how we're working together, and not, this is who I am.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and I've noticed that myself as well. So if you go into a meeting and it feels like you had a few meetings already, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you just touched on this, you're a video person kind of naturally yourself, and you made your first video, I think, when you were a junior in high school about Batman or something like that, right? Was that when you first realized that video is your thing? Is that really something you enjoy doing?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back even probably further. I was huge into like video games, and it got to this point of like, well, there was this company Machinima, and there were a few creators through this company Machinima that were making Call of Duty commentaries, and they were making them like funny and cool and interesting. And I'm like finding myself watching this, and I'm like, kind of without, I guess, realizing at the time, reverse engineering it a little bit of like, okay, well, this is a video game, and on the surface, it's mundane. I can go play the same video game. I have it, whatever. And then it's people talking, which again, I could go to TV if I want to see people talk and throw tables, whatever, like, so there's like this thing, and it blended together so well in their content. It was kind of like the, I guess, beginning of what was the Call of Duty commentary at the time. And I'm like, I want to do that. And I want to be this famous person. I want to meet these people and be that, be at that level. And obviously I wasn't ready. I wasn't mature enough. I wasn't funny enough, or, so monotone and all these things and nervous in front of the camera and everything. And, it's just me in my bedroom talking to inanimate objects, really, so, but I think it's just, that's really what got me started. And naturally, I just always stuck with it. I knew that I would be a creative person, but I never really, I guess, tried too hard to go into anything specific. I kind of just let myself create, and the tools that I chose to use to create were video tools typically, or photo tools, so I just kind of let it go.
Now that you own a company, well, co-own, right? How much creativity is still left? Because what I've noticed a lot of times as creatives, when they go into business, the further they go down in it, the less creative work they start doing. Do you feel that, or do you still manage to sort of do quite a lot of creative work yourself?
I feel the exact opposite, actually. I feel like, I think when we first started, the big focus was we plus I. So we want to be a business, and obviously businesses have to make money, but at the same time, we're still influencers, we're still creators, we're still, human beings at the end of the day. So I learn a lot from, okay, so like yesterday, for example, Brem and I had recently bought monitors for our cameras, and we're playing with the features, and I discovered false color, which essentially will take all of the brightness values and put it on a 0 to 107 scale, and then you get to see like where brightnesses lie. So to me, I'm learning these things both in personal work and in professional work. So now I'm learning, okay, well, if I shoot in a flat profile on my camera, I know to expose somebody's face to this level, so I can focus on that. And then I can go home, and like this weekend I'm gonna make a tutorial on it, but regardless, like, I know, like, okay, if I'm gonna expose my face for a YouTube video, I know now, okay, I've learned this is where my face in terms of brightness level should be. So like we apply a lot between the two, and we kind of bridge the gap a lot. And I think it's really cool because we are able to create what we want to create, and a lot of our clients know that they know what they're getting into, right? So they know what our style is, if you will. So we get to just have fun, create it our way, and apply that to other things. So I would say that if nothing else, we get more ideas, or want to try something else on this on our spare time. So it's fun.
That's awesome, man. It's great that you actually managed to keep that, because at least from what I've noticed, that's quite rare. Because obviously, running a business, entails so many different things. And actually, speaking about that, that's your very first business, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, and you've been running for just over a year.
I think just under.
Under a year, yeah.
Yeah, I think like late June, July was when we had our launch party.
Right. So I imagine everything that was happening was very, very new for you. What I'm not going to ask sort of what are the lessons you've learned, because I imagine there were too many to fit in this podcast. But was there something that particularly stuck with you where you just went, I had no idea that this is the case?
I think like the answer that I always give, and it always surprises people, is I've learned a lot about business. I've learned a lot about entrepreneurship, and even a lot more about being a creator than I knew before I started this. But I think what I've learned most is myself. I think like I know what I need to operate. I know what my sleep schedule is. I know how. I've learned a lot about like really what are my habits, and if I get into a pressure situation, what happens to me, and if I am really excited what happens, and how do I level those things out, and how do I still be a leader to the team but still take care of myself? Do I need to spend some time, like, it's not a strict thing on my schedule, but I have it on my schedule Monday, Wednesday, Friday to go to the gym. It's just a break in the day, keeps me fit, keeps me healthy. I'm obviously sedentary while I'm at work because I'm at a computer behind a desk, that sort of thing. So I try and keep active, but just learning where your skills are, where are you best, and leaning into those things is really important.
Did you have to change your habits?
I don't know if I really had to change a lot of habits. I just had to lean into habits. So like for me, it was I'm an early riser. I've always been an early riser, but now it's okay. 5:30 is my alarm.
Right.
I don't. I've it just I would say it's more like adjusting. So before I'd be like, well, if I wake up at 7, I wake up at 7, or my old job. Okay, my old job was kind of all over the place, but now I'm going to control every aspect of my life. So I say it isn't how many hours of sleep I get. I'm going to wake up at 5:30 every day, and I'm going to go to bed when I'm tired. So however much energy I lost today, I'll go to bed, and then I'll wake up at 5:30. And my body's really responded well to that. And I've changed like my diet. Like I've kind of gone, obviously not, I'm definitely an 80-20 diet guy, but I've gone with like a no sugar, no added sugar diet.
Yeah.
So just little things like that just take what I thought I knew about myself and just like, okay, this is really what works for me, so I can just be a better version of myself.
Yeah. And that comes from basically the challenges that you face day-to-day basis in the business, that you feel like you need to perform better, or is there something else that sort of pushed you into doing those additional things?
I think it was just like I was running my health to the ground. I wasn't exercising. I wasn't, the confidence wasn't there, and just I started to kind of notice those trends, and it was like, okay, I know I'm better than this, and it isn't, to be the best performer or anything like that. It's just I just want to be the best me. If I can provide the best me to the world, I know that will be plenty. And then if I can just improve myself through my skills, through my, just general kindness and general positive human things, like that will radiate, so that's more so where I was focused.
So for somebody that either just started a business or is looking to start a business, what would be the advice that you give, or is it the fact that focus on yourself, rather than anything else?
I think it's a lot of it is focusing on yourself. Like, know what you need to operate. Do you need a certain amount of sleep? Do you need to eat a certain way? Do you need to exercise often? Like, finding those things out about yourself and then creating your schedule around that. So even if you do start a business for the first time or start a business in any field, like, you're going to have a very oddball schedule. Like, that's a guarantee. But if you can fill in those necessities of life, you will be able to then excel at everything. So that was my anecdote. And I mean, recently, I would say like even just up to 3 months ago is really when I took notice and really hit hard on that message. And it's really, really made a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah, and that definitely makes sense. I think the only thing that might be difficult is sort of keeping to that schedule that you do, I know that I had a challenge. I was all over the place before I started any business. And now, like, I couldn't live without a Google Calendar. That's like my best friend at the moment, right?
And you learn like that structure. Like before I started business, I didn't have a Google Calendar. I didn't use a scheduling system, right? Like, okay, I worked from 7 a.m. My old job was kind of a weird schedule, but if we start at 7 a.m., okay, well, I'm starting at 7 a.m. and when we're done, we're done, So like I kind of got used to a weird schedule, but just knowing like not last week, but the week before, like I didn't exercise at all that week. But then last week we went and played basketball, Q, Izzy, and I. So like if it's a little slow of a day, like take advantage of that. Go do those things that your body needs, or your mind needs. Like take care of those things when you have that time.
Yeah, makes sense, man. Public speaking, that's something you're doing now as well. Is that something you always wanted to do, or that just came naturally?
Never in a million years did I see myself speaking. I was that shy kid in high school, all through school. and never really, like, I was everybody's friend, but I was nobody's best friend. So I didn't really have a lot of social situations. So I was totally always an outcast. So I never thought I'd speak. Every time I had to even give a presentation, even with a group, I would be freaking out. Just terrible.
So how did it happen?
Repetition, one thing, but two, like, I think it became a point where I knew I was confident in what I was talking about. I knew that I liked talking about what I was talking about. So for me, it was less about the fact that I was up on stage and everybody's eyes were on me, and more of, look at all of these people that I get to positively impact. And I think when I sort of had that mindset, I started to look in the audience and not, oh my gosh, they're looking at me. What if I'm saying something weird or wrong? Or what if my hair's weird? Whatever, you know, it was less of that and more of like, okay, I see that that person's engaged because I'm talking about this. Let me lean into this a little bit more. You know, I'm starting to maybe be a little bit more analytical when I'm talking and less like fearful. Like the first panel that I was on for LinkedIn in Richmond, Virginia was like, I was the last one to speak at the first question. I'm just holding that mic, just terrified. But then like the second I got done with my first sentence, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I see so many people just resonate with that. This is why I'm here. This is what I want to do. So it just like, maybe I'm an odd case, but for me, it just kind of was like, oh, I'm not scared because I'm helping these people and I want to help these people. So why don't I just do that?
How much of a difference it is, like doing public speaking, and because you've done streaming, right? And you get a lot of views on your videos and stuff like that. You know, that's a massive audience. But is it very different when you actually see those people when you're speaking publicly?
I think it is, and like obviously when I'm on Twitch, I try and make it as in person, I guess, of an experience as I can, because you know I'm not good at video games, so I don't want people to come because I'm good at video games, because that's not why they're there. But if I can help people have a better day, then that's why I'm there. So like I try and bridge that gap as best as possible. But yeah, it's different in person because, you know, you get to see immediate reactions. So you get to see if I'm talking about how I create a video, or, you know, how we make money as a company, and I can see people starting to nod their heads. Well, okay, now I have all of this other stuff that I can talk about. Maybe I just focus a little bit more here.
Yeah.
So a little bit more.
So you adapt on the fly as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And there isn't obviously a video game as your backdrop, so you can't just like reference it all the time.
Yeah. So okay, so let's touch a bit on gaming. There's one interesting thing that you said some time ago, that being a gamer actually helped you become a better entrepreneur. Can you elaborate on that? Because I'm really curious to understand that.
Yeah, so for me, like I mentioned, I was kind of an outcast growing up, so I never really was. I mean, truthfully, I would argue that there was a gap between like second grade, when I got my first deck of Pokemon cards at a birthday party, and my sophomore year of college. I did not hang out with anybody. I didn't ask anybody to come over. I didn't go play with any, unless it was like an organized sport, you know. So I didn't really have that social response a lot of the time. So it's like, okay, well, I know that I want to do X, Y, and Z, which ended up becoming what is now the business, but I didn't know it at the time. But I knew that I needed the social skills to do it. So I'm like, okay, well, how do I do that? Well, let's make YouTube videos. If I can make YouTube videos, well, then I'm starting without being with people, but I'm still talking to people. I'm still influencing people. So that was kind of the start of it. And then I'm like, okay, well, I'm playing video games. I'm just going to do it live, right? Like if I'm just going to play video games, if I can invest that same time that I'm already playing the video game in influencing people's days and helping people have better days through talking to them on Twitch, well, why don't I just do that too? So then it was like, okay, then immediate substitute. But then what I didn't realize at the time was I was getting social skills. I could react to people calling me ugly. I could react to people coming in my stream and saying that they just got diagnosed with leukemia. I can deal with all of those things because they've all happened. So I know how to handle all these things, but I didn't realize that I was building those social skills at the time. So now, networking event, I'm a lot more empathetic, and I would say that I'm able to put myself in people's shoes a lot easier because Twitch is very easy to just project as a viewer because you're just behind a keyboard, right? But if I can, as a streamer, eliminate that barrier and just talk to you as a human being, then we can make progress. So I learned a lot without really even knowing it in that sense.
And do you so obviously that they give you a bit of a thicker skin in terms of, getting feedback and being criticized and stuff like that, especially that you get that being out there on social. Does that helped you sort of manage people within the company as well, you reckon?
I would say, I think like it's a lot of, like I said, I think empathy is a good word for it, because I think it's just, we're all new to this for the most part. I mean, Q's run a few businesses and Izzy's been in a much more professional position before, but for most of us, it's just, we're all learning on the fly. So it's a lot of, when my dad was going through his chemotherapy, like the team was empathetic with me. When somebody else has something that they're going through, like we're empathetic with them. And I think it's just, for our situation, we're a small team. So if we can just be humans and be there for each other when we need it the most outside of work, well, then we all come together and just crush what we have to do for their clients.
But so you're growing quite quickly. How hard is it to transfer that culture and that empathy into the new people that are coming in? Because not necessarily everybody went through what you've been through.
Right, but and a lot of people on the team have gone through more. Brema was a refugee, so like I can't empathize with that. But if he needs to just go skate or whatever, like go, like take care of yourself, like do those things. I can't put myself in every situation, but if I can help you through those situations when you need it, then we'll grow. And I think like for anybody that we bring on, we're never really like looking, but we're always keeping our eyes open. So if somebody comes and we're like, yeah, that would be a good culture fit, we're looking for this position, like, we broadcast ourselves through our content so that we only attract the people that want to be part of it anyway.
Yeah. And I think a lot of at least the main guys of your company have really strong personal brands. You know what Q is, you know what Dids is, you know what Izzy is and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
For people that actually want to build their personal brands but don't know where to start, where do you think they should? What are the first steps?
Find out what you like. I would say that's it. Step one, step all. Find out what you like. Because if you're not enjoying it, then over time that will wear on you and it will start to show. So if you're going to be a personal brand, find out what you like.
Even if that's unrelated to your business?
What's that?
Even if that's unrelated to your business?
I would say, yeah.
Yeah?
Like I'm a gamer, but I'm also an entrepreneur. So now what I'm finding is I'm actually having this really cool blend of entrepreneur friends on Instagram and gamer friends on Instagram kind of coming together a little bit, right? Like I had one of our clients came to one of my Twitch streams because I tweet it all out. And if, we're a very personable company, so like we have clients follow us on other social, like it's not uncommon, I guess, for us. So like one guy from this company came and then one of his co-founders came as well. And they were talking smack to each other in my Twitch chat while I'm playing chess and stuff. And I'm like, this is cool. Because we're able to be both professional but still personable. Mm-hmm. So we're able to be like, you have the client work and we've taken care of that and we've taken care of you as a client. And now you're here because you want to see one of us play game, whatever, So it's a really cool mix, I think. So even if it doesn't relate to your business, just find out what you like, because then when you're not working on the business, you got to enjoy the time that you're spending anyway.
True. One thing that I did notice is that when you're doing stuff differently as you are, you get a lot of, and sort of you put it out there, you get a lot of backlash, basically. I hear people saying, they're just pretending to be entrepreneurs, they should focus on the fundamentals of the business rather than, going out there and stuff like that. How do you ignore all that noise? How do you stick to who you truly are?
Because I know what I have to do today, and I know that we're okay. And I learned that through getting a thick skin through Twitch and all that, right? Like you can come and try and break our walls all you want, but like we know what's going on. We know that we're good. We're making money. We're doing all of these things. That's really, really cool. And, yeah, we haven't done the best job of sharing that. We have Ken now who's kind of vlogging and, making sure that a lot of that is being shown more, but we know who we are and what we're about. And we're confident in that, and we're excited for the future, and we know where we're going. So nobody can really say anything that derails us because, well, you're not here, so you don't know.
Yeah. No, that's cool, man. What got you into gaming in the first place?
My dad, Super Nintendo, Mario Kart, Super Metroid, all that. Yeah, he used to work at I was way too young to remember any of this, but he used to work at a video game rental store, kind of like what Blockbuster was, but on a much smaller scale and locally. So he had the opportunity to bring a lot of games in when I was little, and it would be, my parents were very like, okay, only on Friday nights, but when it was Friday night, I knew I was playing some Super Metroid, so that's what I was looking forward to.
Did you ever see gaming and esports growing into what it is today?
Even when I was in esports, I didn't see it growing to what it is today. It's crazy. I think like 2015, 2016 is when I was kind of really, really invested in it as a photographer. But like even then it was still very much in the early stages of like, okay, well, we have these gamers, but how are we also a business? And how do we also make money, but still have sponsors, but still show the video game, but still, okay, now it's on TNT and now it's on all of these American television networks, or is YouTube, there were still all of these questions. And I think it was just really cool to kind of see it develop.
Do you think you're going to be heavily involved within esports going forwards? Is that something, one of your passions?
I hope so. I think I'm learning a lot about business that I can apply to what I would want to do in esports. Like I said, I'm not the best player in the world. Like my kill to death ratio ain't the best, but I can make content look good, right? Like I'm always on the media side. So maybe that's, investing in, maybe Q brings me on his team and then I get to be the media of his team. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I think I'm learning a lot about the business side. Like, you're starting to see a lot of athletes, professionals, like traditional sports athletes investing. So like now I understand what all of that article means. Whereas before a year ago, even I would have no idea what all of these terms meant.
The thing is that because you do media, right? You're sort of a visual storyteller. So you're responsible a lot of what defines a brand, how people perceive the brand, and probably, potentially with esports, it could even do, how you present the industry itself. Right. Even though esports is growing rapidly, it still has quite a lot of negativity around how it affects you both physically and mentally. What are your thoughts on that, and how do you reckon we could change that perception?
I don't know if it like the perception needs to be changed. I don't know how much of like the actual act needs to be changed. Like there was a period when you started to see like a lot of players, like I would say like 2014 to 16, a lot of like news stories popped up like, oh, carpal tunnel and sedentary lifestyles, and like I was absorbing it like, yeah, that's a thing. Like I know when I used to play World of Warcraft for 20 hours out of a 48-hour weekend, like, yeah, my wrist hurt on Monday. Of course it did. I played 20 hours of video games, but I didn't work out that weekend. I didn't eat right. I had nothing but cappuccino and Pop-Tarts or whatever, right? So like I didn't take care of myself. And now you're starting to see this change of like there's so many, like Gears of War, when I was photography for Gears of War tournament, like I would say that half of the players that I still follow today, even just like from that moment to today, are all fit as heck now. And they're all working out all the time and they're doing all these things. So like if you're going to be a professional in your field, you have to devote a lot of time to it. Yeah. But traditional sports athletes have the added effect of, okay, I'm exercising while I'm doing that, right? Like it's the art of it. But now you're seeing these gamers that are still maintaining a good, healthy lifestyle, but still being professionals in their craft.
Yeah. So it's getting there. It's getting there. But
I think it's definitely getting there.
I guess my question was more about, do you feel like because you've got that skill set, do you plan to contribute to that, to sort of, put out that message that, it's not necessarily some teenager in a room with a Coke bottle in his hand playing games. It's actually a lot more than that. I've recently spoken to a person who's actually using gaming as part of his charity to help people with physical disabilities actually sort of reinvent themselves and find sort of new ways to communicate and obviously to immerse into a new world and stuff like that. There's so much more than esports can do, and I guess this is where I was coming from, as to sort of, because you've got that skill set.
Yeah, I think, a lot of it for me is just bringing out the positives, right? Showing the stories of like players meeting, kids that have idolized them, and showing that like these are professional video game players. Like it's the same thing as it is in any other field. They are professionals in that craft, and they're starting to become very business savvy, because now it's starting to be, there's a lot of money won at these tournaments, and they have to learn a lot about my contract. And now you see with like the TFU thing, like there's a lot of, okay, well, now you're going to have to pay attention to these things. So like, I think it's just showing like, yeah, there's going to be hiccups like this TFU thing, but at the same time, now the whole Twitter universe knows, like, okay, they have to worry about contracts. They have to worry. They're big boys now too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So where do you see esports going next? I know it's hard to predict, but maybe there's something you're excited about where it's going next?
I'm excited about where it's going next. I think like, I don't want to say it's plateaued, because I don't think it ever will, but like there's, you have to now, I think, the next step, I think, is bringing it into the same space as traditional sports, because I think it's that stigma is starting to shift toward that. And I think if we're going to call it a professional sport, then we need to televise it like a professional sport. Like you have Twitch that streams these events, and maybe that's where it lives. But at the same time, like, you have millions of people that watch the Super Bowl, but maybe only 150,000 people watch the League of Legends final. Why is that? Because, well, there's age groups and demographics, obviously, that go with that, but that will change. 10 years from now, when that 150,000 people are 30 and whatever, okay, well, I would rather watch the League of Legends, even though I don't like League of Legends, than the Super Bowl. That's just my personal preference. So, like, I think the future is that teeter-totter is going to start to kind of shift a little.
So what do you like? What's your game? What's your go-to game?
Gosh, so I'm esports title-wise. I play World of Warcraft a lot. I play Heroes of the Storm a lot. But outside of that, I spent hours upon hours playing like City Skylines. So that's just like a SimCity style city simulator. Like I just love the creativity of it. I can start a new map, and it's my own canvas to build a new city on. It's weird, but
being creative and still in games.
Yeah.
Cool, man. What's the best place for people to see you game or to follow your journey as well?
Yeah, anywhere. DidsLive. You search that, you'll find me. MK Misfits or Urban Misfit Ventures for the company, if you want to find any of that. But yeah, pretty simpler than I anticipated. That was pretty good. We did a good job.
Yeah, pretty good. Personal brand is your thing as well, isn't it? So it goes hand in hand.
I used to have like my name as the Twitter handle, and then DidsLive is, and then finally I was like, okay, DidsLive works on everything. Let's just do it. Let's just make everything that, and it's been seriously a game changer.
So, in short, how does your next year look like, and what are you most looking forward to?
As much as I'm loving everything that's going on with the business, I'm looking forward to getting married in the next year. That will be a super life highlight for me. Looking forward to that. It's been 5 years of a long distance relationship. It'll be finally nice to see it end, hopefully late July. We're hoping. She's got an interview date set in early July, so we'll see how long that takes afterward. But just, excited for personal growth, business growth. I'm learning a lot more about just the undertones of business and meeting a lot of awesome people along the way, and being able to inspire those around the world.
That's amazing, man. Can I just touch on one thing, because that's something that's very sort of important and challenging to me personally, really, is that work-life balance. Do you think that exists, and how do you deal with it yourself?
I think it exists, So like last night is actually a really good example. I got home, and like when I got home last night, I knew that I had to edit a podcast and upload it, as well as like there's other things that I have that I can do, but at the same time, like that podcast and making a LinkedIn video were really the only two pressing things that needed to be done before I went to bed. So called my fiance on Google Hangouts, like, hey, what do you want to do tonight? Like, do you want to play some games for a little bit? Or, am I good to get started on this? Or, kind of just gauging that communication and like, spent time, ate dinner with my family. I still live at home. So ate dinner with them. My fiance wanted to play Final Fantasy, which is very much a single player game. And I'm like, well, then I'm going to work. So that's kind of how I approach it. Just make sure that everything's taken care of and then find your time too.
So communication and prioritizing, from what I understand. Cool, man.
Big priority.
That's amazing, man. Thank you very much for your time. That was really, really awesome. I feel like I could keep talking to you for ages. Just one last thing that I want to say is that I've been following you for just over a year, and you've been. It was really astonishing to see your growth in that year. I think you went from somebody that you could see that has a passion but doesn't really know where to put it and how to approach it, to somebody that has enough self-awareness to be really true to himself and really communicate that to the audience and actually teach them, whether it's through social media, public speaking, or whatever it may be. So I think that's something that I personally, am learning from you as well. And I'm really, really excited onto what you do next, personally, and both with Urban Misfit Ventures as well. So thank you for your time and best of luck, man.
No, I think like truthfully, like I would argue that didn't click for me until like 3 months ago. I don't know what it was. Like it just, like I just woke up and I'm like, well, where am I at? Like seriously, like I was really hard on myself for a little bit, but at the same time, now I feel, like you said, like that direction is clear. And I think that was like the skill was there, the idea was there, but there was no path for it to go down, both personally and professionally. And I think that like I was doing cool things for the company, I was doing cool things for myself, but I don't think I really was like doing it with intent. And I think that's where that came on. So
you did ask yeah, but so I don't want to hold you too long as well.
No,
but
you're good.
You did ask a question. Was that the trigger that you sat down and you actually asked yourself, what is it that I'm going?
Yeah, so I'll just say it, like, I was starting to get comments from people both in person and online, like, I got LinkedIn Live, right? And I used it, but there's just like, I think a lot of people saw potential in me, but didn't necessarily see me going upon that potential. And they were starting to be like, hey, like you have LinkedIn Live, like use it, or you have this community, use, like what's going on. And I think like at first I was like really deflated, like, I think I'm doing good thing. Like I think, whatever. But then I just like kind of eventually got to the point where I just sat back and I'm like, dang, they're right. And it isn't it. I think initially I took it as a cut, but I think really it was more of a, dude, you're awesome. Like, why are you not here? Why are you only here? It wasn't, oh, you're not crap or whatever. It was, I know you can be here. Why are you only here?
Right.
So I think it's just eventually one day that I woke up and I was like, dang, that's what they're trying to say.
And I think it's quite a blurred line between focusing on your own journey and actually listening to what others say, because you can get out of your journey by listening too much to what other people say and vice versa. So the fact that you've managed to take what you actually needed to stay on that path and actually accelerate it is something that is quite difficult to do, and I'm glad you actually managed to do that.
Yeah, and it really did feel like a flick of a switch, and that's what's so weird about it. But I like from that moment on, like I said, like 3 months ago, I think was when about that happened, and just I feel like there's so much more just anticipation and like intentional direction now, which is absolutely a game changer.
That's awesome, man. That's really powerful. I really, really wish you best of luck with that. And I'm hoping we'll catch up in a year or so to see what that takes you as well.
Without a doubt. I mean, you know where I'm at. We'll keep in touch, and we'll do this again sometime.
Awesome, man. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. Take care.